I'm trying to make sure I'm covering my tracks because I know that this can be a very nuanced conversation. But I think it's great that they're trying to speak to Gen Z and Gen Alpha and just any younger generation. I mean, even millennials. But I think that there's a very distinct line between being performative for social media versus trying to get the younger people in the church. It's
the biggest thing about getting younger people in the church. You don't need all that performative shit. You need to tell them and be real, because a lot of young people are tired of older people being fake, not taking accountability, being hypocrites, and not standing firm and not showing them, being a person of their word. So, not being a hypocrite. That's how you bring the younger crowd in. And being vulnerable. Yes, and being vulnerable. Like Pastor Mike Jr., I love his sermon so much because, he's vulnerable with the people who he's preaching to about his life. And he gives actual testimonies on his stuff. And he makes church cool, because not only does he analyze the Bible, he makes it, it's called devotions, but he interprets it and makes it into like a modern day version. Like he does like many movies of his own and makes it the modern day version. That's what the young people like. That's what'll draw the young people. Not all this performative shit.
Like the clout and the attention is more valuable than spreading the word of God or building community within your church and the members that you currently have. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the pastors, okay?
Should I grab another Vernon?
This segment,
I only
the
got
cult
2
of pastors. So when I spoke on churches really utilizing social media,
I'm
and
okay.
it almost coming across as them trying to become influencers, yeah, the influencers are seemingly the pastors in a lot of cases. Just like I said, a lot of these pastors are seemingly trying to speak towards Gen Z and Gen Alpha, or trying to go viral on social media in general. You can definitely see it in the way that they're dressed and the way that they even act. The pastors are coming in wearing designer clothes, expensive shoes, having the newest car, flying private jets. Yeah, the mega church pastors. Obviously not all, but there definitely are some that are definitely doing this.
Hey, them Yeezys.
General, you can definitely see it in the way that they're dressed and the way that they even act. The pastors are coming in.
Those are where your tithes went to.
Wearing designer clothes, expensive
those are where your tithes went to.
Shoes, having the newest and flyest car.
That's where your tithes went to.
Flying private jets.
They could also have
the mega church
private jet. I mean, they could also
not all, but there definitely are.
Look, they could also have some other businesses, but probably not. I believe that most likely church is their main thing. I believe that's their main bread and butter, but church is a non-profit.
Some that are definitely doing this because they're making a killing from basically being an influencer and being a pastor, feeding off of people's vulnerabilities.
Hungry Root is the easiest way to eat healthy. Hungry Root is kind of like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist.
You guys should already know I am a very busy woman, and cooking every single night just isn't realistic for me. That's why I've been loving HelloFresh lately. And guys, this is not the HelloFresh that you may have heard. Plus free breakfast for life.
Connect. Back to 2819, and I'm only speaking on this church because I feel as if this was the most recent church that I saw in my neighborhood that really blew up due to social media. But I kind of briefly touched on this with people documenting the fact that they came to 2819 at 5 a.m. because they went to get online. Like literally 2819 has lines wrapping around the building just to get in. And I remember I was speaking to my hairstylist who does go to 2819 church still, and she said like, oh, if you go to the 7 o'clock service, you'll be online for like less than 30 minutes. I'm like, line to go to church? I mean, they also have a smaller church home right now. They're building the Forever Church home. But for me personally, I just feel that there are a lot of other church homes in my neighborhood that I can go to that doesn't have me standing online for 30 minutes. And it also means that I'm supporting other churches. But people are vlogging the moment they're standing on.
Why is she saying standing online? Because it makes it seem like if she's saying standing online, I'm thinking like, do you mean like waking up at 5 to log in like on your phone? I see niggas standing in line. So why are you saying standing online? That's what's confusing. I'm like, bruh, you mean standing in line?
Line to step into 2819 church. They're vlogging them meeting Pastor Phillips, and they're hugging him, and they're all over him, and they're so excited to have met him. And I get that you can look at the pastor because like his word is so well spoken and he may have changed your life, or you look at things in a different perspective, but it almost feels like celebrity worship and idolization. This causes the focus to shift from faith to fan.
I wonder how many females he fucked. I'm not even talking about, you know, within the church, because he's probably piped them all down. But talking about the fans, the clout, had to have been fucking some of them. Like, let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. All the clout he's getting, he's definitely fucking. Whether he's single or he's married. He's still a man.
These pastors are building fandoms whether they are doing it intentionally or not. This is causing the pastor or the church home to become the star of the show. So it's taking away the fact that idolization of inanimate objects or other people, which is a sin, into full-blown perspective. We're taking away from God and focusing on everything else that doesn't revolve around God. So let's highlight some church examples of this. So we have Hillsong Church. I don't know if you guys know this church, but you may know this church as the...
Bruh, this is literally like a football field dome. Like, this is a stadium. This is literally a stadium. You see how big this shit is for a church? And I haven't even heard of this church. This is crazy. Hell no, I wouldn't go to this church.
Celebrity church. A bunch of celebrities went to this church. So Hillsong Church began in Sydney, Australia in the 1980s. They built an empire through worship music songs like Oceans and What a Beautiful Name. The pastor of that church, by the name of Carl Lentz, ended up becoming basically a full-blown celebrity. So before we get into Carl Lentz, let's get into the founders of the church. So Hillsong Church was founded by Brian and Bobby Houston. And when Brian and Bobby founded Hillsong Church, it was during the time when churches were transitioning into a more modern church style. Worship teams weren't just choirs anymore, and a lot of churches were leaning more into a contemporary production of songs and trying to discover and mold their own brand identity. And Hillsong Church was the first church to really stick to this regimen. By the early 2000s, Hillsong Church wasn't just a church anymore. It was a multinational institution built solely on music. So as I stated, they had songs like Oceans, What a Beautiful Name, Hosanna, and Mighty to Save. Some songs that you may have heard several times in your own church. That's because these weren't just worship songs. These were global chart-topping songs. This led Hillsong to make their own music label. They televised their sermons. They had something called Hillsong College, which was like a training ground for worship leaders and pastors. And they had merch with books, hoodies, conferences, and tours. They really became a whole entire brand. This was no longer just a church. Hillsong was now a music label, a media company, and so much more, just having a church attached to them by chance. That's when enters Pastor Carl Lentz. So when Hillsong expanded into the United States, they needed someone who can connect with the newer and younger generation that was glued to their phones, social media, and Instagram. That was when Carl Lentz came to play. Now, Carl was definitely not your traditional pastor, okay? Carl wore Saint Laurent boots. He had tattoos. He dropped all types of lingo. And he preached with the cadence of an influencer.
Y'all need to take a praise break and thank God for protecting you from your prayer requests your whole life. All the relationships you wanted to get in that you really wanted to get in, but then you found out that dude was a total loser and God protected you, give him some praise. All those things you wanted to do with your life and they ended up being a bad deal, give him some praise. All those times you wanted to step out and you thought God had closed the door, but really he had shut it to protect you, give him some praise.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
See, even with me just reacting to it, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything from that. My spirit didn't feel anything from that.
He became the pastor to many notable stars like Haley and Justin Bieber, Kevin Durant, Selena Gomez, Chris Pratt, and even Kyrie Irving.
Justin just went because, or maybe Selena just went because Justin and Haley went there. But Kevin Durant?
Became clear as day that Hillsong was more for the aesthetics than it was for preaching the word of God, including Carl Lentz, okay? And that all unraveled completely in 2020. So in 2020, Carl Lentz was fired from being a pastor due to infidelity. But that was literally just the tipping point of what was about to unfold.
Hey, I literally just said my spirit felt nothing from what he was saying. I'm just saying, hey. Trust your spirit always. Trust your spirit.
And staff members started leaking information about a much darker past when it came to Hillsong Church. They spoke about there being a cool kid hierarchy where celebrities, pastors, and influencers were treated like royalty and put on a certain pedestal. That for sure isn't the church way of thinking. The volunteers felt exploited, where they were running these multi-million-dollar events and weren't getting paid for their labor. They spoke on members of the church giving tithes, while the leaders of the church were staying in luxury hotels and living very lavishly. And so many more scandals.
This came out after Carl Lentz was fired. He and his wife tried to deny it, but then...
You know what's crazy too? You about to listen to this. They had all those different businesses, because I'm glad I let her tell me about the different businesses that they did, you know, making a Christian music group, doing the tours, the albums, the songs, that college, the schooling. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. I'm thinking they got all those businesses, that can be funding their lives. So they shouldn't even need those tithes to do that shit. Have that church. So I was like, no wonder they had that big ass stadium, because of all the shit they're doing. But greed is a motherfucker. Because with all those business comes money, comes power, all those celebrities come in, and greed comes in. Oh yeah. And then that's what that greed, that power, that's what you forget. That's the choice. Because it's like I said, church, you do not need a big ass cathedral to preach in that echoes. And you have perfect harmony. You have the perfect singers in the background. And no. You need just people with a positive intent, with the right intention to have a relationship with God. And biggest thing is too, one thing I love about Pastor Mike Jr., he tells everybody, hey, he broke it down so well. I was like, damn, that's right. He said, I'm going to tell you something that most pastors don't say. You need to have your own relationship with God. Don't depend on me to have your relationship with God. You have your own relationship with God, and I can go ahead and look at how he worded it. I can help you decipher the stuff within the book and, teach you how to look at things a certain way. But you got to have your own relationship with God. Pray about stuff. If I say a sermon and you don't really agree with it or whatever, pray about it. When you go to different churches or before you start, you think about going to a certain church, pray about it. That's his thing. He's like, you got to talk to God first before you even make a decision. And trust in God. Don't just go there and assume that's the best thing for you, and it doesn't turn out to be the best thing for you. Trust in God, trust in your spirit. And one of the things he also said, which really hit me, he said spirituality. He was on the Angel Reese Angel Reese podcast. He said spirituality is having your own relationship with God. That's what a lot of the millennials are doing. They're moving into spirituality because he was asked how does he feel about spirituality and moving, people, that spirituality movement growing. He said, I love the spirituality movement because that's a relationship with God. Religion is the I think he said like the discipline or the regimen. He's like either the discipline or the regimen with God. Spirituality is the relationship with God, and religion is the regimen or the discipline with God, like the steps that you need to take, like going to church, reading your word, listening to sermons and stuff like that. Getting baptized and other things. So like, damn, he put it like really good. I agree with that. But I'm conscious. So even though like I believe that all the religions, I don't even know how I want to say this. I don't disrespect any religion because I believe in the one. I believe in they all have we're all talking about the same God, the ether, the universe. We're all talking about the same God. So I don't disrespect it. But I don't claim a religion. That's why I'm conscious. I'm aware. That's why I don't say I'm spiritual anymore. I'm just conscious. I'm just woke. I just pay attention. I'm aware of things, and I'm learning every day.
And there were leaked documents that show that he admitted to this. If you read this, where she describes how he made her feel, his elevated status made me feel like he had all the power and I had no voice. That's what we call an unbalanced power dynamic, and that is predatory. In these leaked documents, plenty of people talked about the manipulative and abusive culture in Hillsong, New York, which I know from the tons of people that DM me that Carl was very much a scapegoat in all of this, and this is Hillsong culture as a whole, but Carl definitely participated and perpetuated predatory behavior and abusive and manipulative and awful things to people. Here's another one where people talk about how they made him feel, what happened. And in case you're wondering what he's been doing in the last 2+ years since he was fired, he moved to LA and has been running shirtless on the beach, meditating, and pitching reality shows. Sounds like someone who's trying to take time to heal and understand what he did wrong. Oh, and let's not forget about the celebrity parties where he was drinking and being highly inappropriate with people, all while his wife was present and witnessing all of it. And the new Hillsong documents that just leaked about their financials detail the financial abuse that Hillsong perpetuated, that very much happened at Hillsong, New York, that Carl directly benefited from. He had designer clothes and a crazy house and all kinds of things that was all bought with tax-free church-donated money.
I probably could
Tithes. One of the things I don't like about religions is most individuals who go to a religion, they go because they're waiting for somebody to save them. They just don't take accountability for the things that they've done or the things they are going to do. They just can't be real with themselves. That's why I love being conscious, because I can say the shit that I used to do, I wanted to do it and I did it. Even if it was wrong, I learned from it and I'm doing better. My traumas, I'm not going to blame other people. It happened for a reason. I'm not going to hold a vendetta against them. I'm not going to, I'm not going to have resentment in my heart because of something that happened. I'm still going to remember it, but it's not going to take effect for how I'm moving. A lot of people who are within religion, they don't do that. I say a lot, not all, but a lot.
A whole video on Hillsong Church on its own, but we have a whole bunch of other things to uncover. So Hillsong did not collapse due to just one cheating pastor. No, they collapsed because they began putting God last, but putting their brand first.
Let me just tell you something about growing a church. When any pastor says that, I respectfully push back. Our church is always going to be like this. Often, here's what happens, and I'll say this real slowly. Most pastors start out with a big vision. They can't do it. So they change their theology to now suit what their fruit is.
and try to act like that's how we're never going to be like that mega church. Brother, you can't grow your church past what it is. Be okay with that. Don't try to put a theology on this. Don't try to knock every church. The only reason why they're growing is because what? What? Rather than glean from what they might be doing right, you're so small that you're going to pretend and start making up reasons for why their success is not legit. That is the weakest, smallest view of a leader I've ever seen in my life. And it happens all the time. Like, we're never going to be like that church. Brother, you're in no danger of ever growing. Because I've been on the other side, I think some of the criticism is funny to me. I think it's like old school junior high insecure people talking about the cool kids sometimes. That's what it sounds like. So when people say that, like, I'm in this small church and I'm in my community and we're being discipled, are you? Are you? Are you? Because no one has joined your small little group.
When a church starts,
What I can say about what he just said, my problem with what he said, or really when it comes to those type of conversations, why are y'all making it a competition? When in reality, church is about honoring and giving glory to God. God, he wants nothing but individuals. If you are gonna have a competition, or if you are going to fight, don't fight amongst one another. Fight against evil. Fight against wrongness. Fight against evil, wrongdoing. Against fiction, lies and stuff like that. Fight against the negative stuff. Just fight against the low vibrational stuff. That comparing or saying, oh, we're never going to be like them. We're never. And then also him coming back with, well, with that mindset, you're not, you got a small church. You're always going to have a small church. Like that, the size of the church don't fucking matter. What matters is the influence of the pastor and what you're doing with that influence. Like Pastor Mike Jr., he said, like, I don't give a fuck about, he didn't say it like that, but he's like, I really don't care about how many followers I have. I don't even want followers. My thing is the influence and the impact I'm leaving on a community and the people who are listening to me. That's what I care about. That's what matters, the influence. The positive influence that you're having on the people who are coming to you and trusting you with the guidance on how to go within and out of body with a relationship with God. That's what the people are coming for, not for the big ass churches. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but that's what the people who are genuinely wanting a relationship with God, that's what they're coming for, these churches.